Philadelphia has gained an international reputation as a city with one of the toughest police departments in the world. It's a force of 7,500 men, shaped over the past 4 years into a formidable urban army, run by one man without political interference. His name is Frank Rizzo. He is a policeman's cop, often called the super cop. He holds more than 60 awards and citations, and has been mentioned as a possible successor to J. Edgar Hoover. The name Rizzo made headlines around the world last summer when he personally led an early morning raid on Black Panther headquarters.
Commissioner Rizzo.
It was in that raid that Panthers were forced to strip in the street before photographers who had been summoned in advance. Rizzo was in the headlines again a few days later. The Panthers were holding a national convention in Philadelphia, and there was fear that some militants, incensed at the raid on their local headquarters, might confront the police. Rizzo's answer became legend.
They're a little angry. They were humiliated. We took their pants off them to search them, you know. Only brave when they outnumber people, you know, meet. They said I hurled a challenge that I suggested, instead of laying an ambush, why don't you tell us where you're going to be? We'll give you the odds. We'll come and we'll, you know, okay, corral, you know. If they have their convention, fine, no problem. But all I can say, and they consider this a challenge. They break our law, we'll be there.
Meaning?
The police. We'll be there and we'll see who wins. And if you're a betting man, you bet on us.
The weekend passed without incident, but Rizzo's tough image was intact. Then, a month ago, after 27 years in the department, after working his way through the ranks to the top, he decided to change jobs.
This is our man, Frank Rizzo. I'm expert Philadelphia. Man, it's got to be love and happiness. Just as I'm the doctor,
He resigned from the force to seek the Democratic nomination for mayor. Interviewed at his temporary campaign headquarters in a body and fender repair shop, Frank Rizzo the cop is now Frank Rizzo the politician.
You know, if you could list priorities, I would say that the economy is the number one part. The economy of the nation, and even the cities. You know, and we have law and order, or the safety of the citizen. That has to be right up there, right below the financial conditions of any community. Then we have to talk about housing, about employment. These are all important. You know, as a policeman, we see firsthand the conditions that cause young people to become criminals. But there's nothing a police chief can do about it. Housing, no work, running the streets day and night, no education, or a poor educational system. And this was one of the other reasons I decided I knew that I had sufficient knowledge to do something about that. I'm not going to say that I can, you know, wave a magic wand and cure all these ills, but one thing I'm certain of, that I have the dedication and the ability to work hard to change it.
In many ways, he's still the chief, the warrior who knows and loves his men, who honors them, as he did recently at the funeral for a patrolman killed in action. To many Philadelphians, he is a folk hero in his own time, an honorable man who places high value on tradition. To others, especially those in the ghettos, the very thought of Frank Rizzo as mayor is appalling. Many of them blame him for a legacy of fear and distrust in the city that still provokes confrontations between citizens and authorities. This recent protest was directed at 2 policemen accused of shooting a young black man. The policemen were formally charged, but those charges were later dismissed. Once again, an incident involving police had provoked militant and divisive rhetoric.
We have to take the position that any black person who inflicts any injury, up to and including death, on any police officer in the black community is clearly carrying out an act of justifiable homicide. So what we are saying is this: if we are to be killed, then any killing that is done in retaliation is justifiable homicide.
Critics of Frank Rizzo blame him for polarizing the city. He says, not so.
I consider myself in the middle. I come from a background that wouldn't permit the tag liberal, ultra-liberal. If you're talking to me about human rights, if we're going to use the tag liberal, I'm a liberal. If you talk about crime and permissiveness and all the other things that cause disorder and confusion in our society, then I'm a conservative. But I would rather use the expression, I'm against the people on the extreme left. I don't want them. I don't want the people on the extreme right. I want the people that are in the middle, and I'm positive that that's the majority, because this is the way I operate, and this is my background. As far as my opponents are concerned, I've been a policeman a long time, and I've learned one thing as a policeman: you never underestimate your opponent. You always get in there faster with more than's necessary, and you overpower them.
Democratic voters in the May 18th primary do have a choice. Rizzo, by most accounts, is leading now, but there is a former city councilman, David Cohen, who is in the race. So is Representative William Green. Green is considered Rizzo's strongest competition. Although he himself is the son of a famous political power in Philadelphia, Green's now up against the party pros.
Election night in 1970, when Governor Shapp was elected, Mayor Tate said at that time that the Democratic Party would endorse Commissioner Rizzo for mayor. And I think, frankly, that the Democratic Party is turning to the commissioner now because they feel he's popular and because he's the one way they feel that they can perpetuate their iron grip on the party machinery and life of this city by running a man that they think is popular. Clearly that night the mayor said the one thing he intended to do was to stop Bill Green, that Bill Green should stay in Washington. I've been fighting up here in Philadelphia to open the Democratic Party up and fighting Mayor Tate's iron grip on the party, and I think that this effort can be characterized as an effort of the machine to perpetuate itself.
Well, you say that Rizzo apparently is quite popular in Philadelphia. Is it because of his policies when he was police commissioner that has gained him this popularity?
I think he was a colorful police commissioner, and yes, I think that's the answer to your question, yes.
Was he effective?
I think that some of the things that he said I disagree with sharply. The police commissioner said that the drug problem is not related to organized crime. He said that the drug situation is not much worse in Philadelphia than it was 10 years ago. That's just not the case, in my opinion. I think he has also made statements from time to time virtually calling for shootouts on the street with the Black Panthers, and made statements like that in the past, which I consider to be extremely divisive, polarizing, and wrong.
And the blacks have a candidate in State Representative Hardy Williams, who is already picking up support from various community groups. His candidacy raises the possibility of a split in the liberal vote, which could, in effect, assure Rizzo's nomination. However, black community leaders don't necessarily see it that way.
Well, I feel that the black man is ready and should begin to work in terms of a black mayor for Philadelphia. Then you get the question, well, supposing you do, supposing Rizzo comes in and so forth. Well, I've gotten this from all of my people and whatnot. But I think we'll benefit anyway, you see, because the boil is already there, you see. And if we can't soothe the boil and get rid of it with palliatives at the present time, then the only thing to do is have the boil break, let the pus come out, and start the healing process. And I think that's what Rizzo is going to do if he gets in. He's going to break the boil. It's going to be messy as all get out. But I think in that way the healing processes will begin. So I figure we can't lose.
You know, I found out as the police chief that the black in any area, and particularly in Philadelphia, he wants no more than I want. He wants to be secure in his home. He wants to be able to walk the street in safety. He wants to be able to have his children educated without them being shot or stabbed in school. And if I thought that the black community was against me, I would have not run for mayor, because about 600,000 Negroes live in Philadelphia, and I'm confident that I will get all the support that I need from the black community.
When he says that he does have support in the black community, though, and do you think that this is going to be a racial campaign?
It can't help but be a racial campaign, because we're all polarized anyway. Everybody's working in terms of his own situation.
But he claims he's going to try and bring the people together, and he said the people just want...
How in the world can Rizzo bring people together when all he's been doing is alienating people for the last 10 years? And he proved his bias in terms of this when he undressed black boys on the street, his police, and he condoned it. Because this means that he has emasculated black people, which he wouldn't dare to do to white people.
What was the reaction in the black community when the Black Panther raid?
Horror. Horror. My people in here, I got about as middle class a bunch of people as you ever want to see, and they were horrified at what had happened in that particular situation.
And yet there's been no...
He ain't going to get any votes from St. Thomas Episcopal Church.
Whatever the outcome of the primary, this campaign is bound to draw a great deal of national attention. And should Rizzo win and go on to become mayor, that attention will not soon go away. William Higley, CBS News, Philadelphia.